Oh, yes.
Welcome back once again, everyone. Today we're taking a look at Transformers Takara Tomy Generation Selects 02. This is the Seacon Kraken, or as is known in US and European markets, Seawing. So with him being number 2, this kind of solves the mystery of whatever happened to the second Generation Select figure, because they kind of went from 1 with Star Convoy and then they skipped to 3. And a lot of people figured 2 was going to go to probably like the Super Megatron toy that just got announced. So it turns out belongs to Kraken. Now there is something odd about that. One, because he kind of jumps backwards in the numbering. But also, I was looking at the packing slip when I got this, and you can see here they don't use the little code names like they used for the first two, but they do call this, I know it's a little hard to see because somebody folded this for some reason, they call it GS5, not 2. Which 5 makes a lot more sense, seeing as he's paired alongside number 6, who is Lobclaw, or Nautilator. So, what it looks like, it looks like there was some jumping around with the numbering. I think there was supposed to be a number 2 before the Seacons were released. Might have been the Super Megatron toy, maybe that got delayed, pushed back. And I think they kind of retroactively number this guy as 2, and originally it was supposed to be 5, which again, I think that makes a lot more sense, because as of right now there's no number 5. So, yeah, it looks like they just kind of pushed the numbering around. So, I thought that was interesting. Right now, if you have seen my reviews before, you know how this goes. We're going to take a look at the toy's packaging. In this case, there's 3 layers of packaging to go through. We'll look at the inside of that, we'll see the instructions, and then we're gonna bust out Kraken himself, look at his beast and robot modes. We'll be doing some comparisons and group shots today. And at the end, I'll get my final thoughts. So the packaging is the same kind of over box that Hasbro does for all their Takara imports. So just very plain. You got the numbering here, Transformers, brand name, logos, all that stuff. And it's pretty much the same thing on every side. Now, let's open this guy up. I already cut the tape on this one because I was trying to figure out if I got sent the wrong toy or not, since this was called number 2. So here you have the sleeve that goes over the box, and it's got that nice line art render of Kraken. And there's his beast mode, there's robot mode, taking up most of the packaging. It's got the grid pattern in the background. Other than that, it's the same as all the other ones. So I'll go ahead and slide this off. And then you got your plain cardboard mailer box again. Still with the misspelling of Generation Selects. Same old line art and all that. Open it up. Got the logo on the top. And now on the inside, this is Kraken, who, if you don't already know, is actually a retool of the Terracon Cutthroat, who in turn was a retool of Power the Prime Swoop. So, fun fact. You can see this is him in his Manta mode, or a modified version of that. You got the hand, you got the weapon, which I don't know if you can tell my lighting is not straight silver. It's actually done more like a rose gold kind of color, so that's interesting. You got 2 little guns here, big cannon. Pull this out. And of course you have your instructions here, which, like the other Takara Selects, done up in this nice glossy paper. So we open this up. They get straight into, let's see, show you how to put him in his proper beast mode. And then you get the transformation to robot mode here. This is leg mode. So on the back naturally should be arm and weapon modes. So yeah, pretty much the same as the other deluxe we saw, old Gulf there. And what is that? Looks like, oh, that's just where he can store his weapons in the Manta mode. So that's cool. Do they have a place for his robot mode to store those? I know Gulf didn't really touch on that. I don't think they do here either, so we'll probably have to get creative again for the robot mode storage, which is unfortunate. And top, again, is just kind of like a little parts layout. All right, here we have Kraken in his manta ray-like monster mode. and he's almost entirely just a regular Manta except for the weird monster legs here. And you can see they're Cutthroat's legs, but the way they're positioned, they're backwards. So like the front's facing back and everything. And I can kind of see what they were going for. They painted the little back claws and then left the front unpainted, so kind of make it look like that's the way they're supposed to be. I don't know, I mean, it works well enough, I guess. I'm not crazy about it. It's got a new tail here, which is pretty nice. The rest of the legs are all Cutthroats. Entirely new wing pieces, which is cool. You can see his little guns attached to the underside, which this is where they're supposed to go, like officially for the beast mode. Same old chest, same forearms as the other two. Or sorry, not forearms, but upper arms. The forearms are different. They form the manta ray eyeballs right there. I think the fists are the same piece though. And of course, this whole middle beast head part is a new piece. It's on a new aperture too. Works differently than the other ones. And you know, naturally he'll have a new robot mode head too. His other accessories, you got your typical hand, like came with Golf. You have a blaster, pretty decent size, got a lot of connection points. And then here you have an axe-like weapon. It's one that's done in that nice like rose gold color. And these do have a place to be stored in his beast mode. And it's not too bad actually. So the first thing you do, you take the fist and you just kind of like curl it all the way up, including the peg. And you take the gun, point it backwards, and you're gonna plug the fist onto the gun like that. Then you take his axe piece, and just use that 5mm port in it to put it directly on top, which will come together pretty nicely like this. And then you just attach it to the top of his head. Some slight clearance issues, but overall goes on pretty well. And that's it, that's the official configuration. And it ends up looking a lot better than what Golf's did. This actually looks like it's meant to be there, like it's some sort of bladed mohawk type getup, which is pretty neat. So I think they pulled it off a lot better than they did with Golf, where he just had his hand like gripping his backside. It was really weird. And overall, you know, it's pretty decent. Not much on posability in this mode. The wings cannot bend upward because the way they're molded. They can bend down a bit, and then naturally the legs can move, and that's about it. But it accomplishes what it sets out to do, and that's be a cool looking manta ray monster. Right here are Kraken's mold mates. You have the OG Swoop, which was then heavily retooled into Cutthroat, who is even more heavily retooled into Kraken. So you can just kind of see the evolution of the design there. Now, because he does come from the Cutthroat mold, he's got more in common with him, especially like in the legs section there. And it's just interesting. You know, again, they show just how much you can radically alter a design just by swapping out some parts here and there. I do kind of wish that his wings could lift up to the back like theirs can, and maybe they can if I force it, but I don't want to force it, so I'm just going to leave it like that. Yeah, I mean, this is, to me, this is what it's all about with these retools is, you know, where you can take a design and make it not feel like the same toy, you know, make it not feel like you're buying the same thing twice. I think they really knocked it out of the park here, because honestly, aside from the legs, this isn't even that much of a dead giveaway that's the same character, so I appreciate it. All right, let's go ahead and get him in bot mode. And honestly, the transformation's so intuitive that I didn't even need to look at the instructions for this one. Go ahead and take off any extra weapons that he has. The ones under his wings you can actually leave right there because they stay there in robot mode too. So first thing we want to do, let's go ahead and fold the monster legs down and around, tail up, like so. We're going to disconnect his arms from the manta head. And we're gonna separate the legs. So use that same like, swing out 2-hinge design that Swoop and Cutthroat use. Go ahead, trim around the waist here. On my copy, this one in particular doesn't like to stay all the way in. It pushes back a little bit, which doesn't affect this mode too much, but makes these want to separate in arm mode, so that's kind of a pain. All right, so go ahead, Swing the arms down, out of the way. Turn them like this. And the fists, not too tightly plugged in there. The fingernail should be all it takes to get them out after not fighting with it. There we go. A little harder to get out than the other two, but not too bad. Luckily they put these little like notches there for you to get some purchase. All right, and now this swings down. The aperture piece plugs into his chest. This swings up, and then these two side panels are gonna fold in, tab in there. And kind of a tight little squeeze, but they go in there. So here's the new head. See, it's painted 3 different colors. You got a matte gray for the helmet, and a nice silver for his face, and then this really nice yellow for the visor. And then, just like Swoop and Cutthroat, just kind of swing his wings up, really sweep upwards. And then that's the robot mode. So, pretty nice looking overall. Now, as far as his accessories, he gets to wield his axe in either hand. The instructions tell you to put it in this one. So you got that. And the blaster just goes in this hand. Now you notice his fists kind of curl inward a bit, which is not something shared with the other uses of the mold, so it makes him look a little off, but not too bad. All right, so this is the official configuration for weapons and everything. And overall, he looks really good. You know, the wings are big sweeping wings, which, yeah, he'll take up a lot of space on the shelf, but it doesn't look bad. You can see the combiner peg, but it, you know, blends in pretty well. It's not too bad. Just looks like blue detailing on his back. And overall, you know, he's pretty good. I will say his legs do feel sturdier than the other two. Like the ball joints at the hips here are not nearly as loose or flimsy, which I'm very thankful for, because that's a big issue I had with the other two uses of this mold, is that they were a little floppy. Now, as far as this, what do we do with this? Just like golf, it doesn't call out in the instructions where to put it. However, if I were to place it anywhere, it actually works really well on his chest, believe it or not. Unlike golf, the way his chest is shaped, the way it kind of protrudes out, it allows you to just pretty neatly curl the fist up around it and give him kind of that Power of the Primes look, where, you know, it looks like a prime armor. Now, if you saw my golf review, you know that despite this being very similar to prime armor on the inside, the Prime Masters don't actually fit in there. They changed some of the dimensions around, now they just don't work. I don't know why. I can't imagine why they would have made those little changes that don't seem to serve a purpose and now make it lose compatibility, but you know, it's there. So yeah, overall, very impressive robot mode. I love the way it looks. Here are the mold mates again, just so you can see how very different their, you know, silhouettes end up striking because of the remolding that's happened, especially with the wings. Each one of them has very unique looking wings. Very different head sculpts. The legs are a little samey between these two. I will admit that. Luckily, Swoop is, you know, quite different from them. I mean, overall, they're 3 great looking toys. The first 2 do have some structural strength issues that concern me, but overall, they're very nice. You know, they really capture this idea of like lithe warriors that, you know, in their case, that, you know, should be able to fly around, but in his case, you know, I guess glide under the sea. So yeah, it is neat seeing them together and just seeing how much, you know, a little retooling can do for a toy. Here's a quick group shot of the previous release Seacons. You got Turtler and Gulf. And you can see that there's a lot of color sharing between them, but then they each also have kind of their own unique colors. So whereas like the blacks and deep greens are shared between these two, he's got a lot of, you know, yellow accents and the lighter blue that's unique to him. And then these two share their pink and their light pink, and then he's got like a different shade of blue. So it's interesting how there's an overlap but also a difference at the same time. And I believe that this guy and Nautilator, or Lobclaw, are actually color matched to each other, whereas this one and Tentakill match each other. So it works out kind of well, especially considering who becomes arms and legs and stuff. All right, now we're going to go ahead and do Kraken's combiner configurations. And I'm going to start with the arm because I learned my lesson from last time. Now, if you haven't already, go ahead and remove any and all accessories from Kraken. And then what we're going to do, you want to get these tabs open, and they actually have little things you can grip to pull them off here. So open them up, swing this back up over his head, and then close it again. That way it's going to take the whole thing with it this time. So you bend this forward at about 90, and then bend this down. So you get that. The arms, you're going to flip his fists in. And then just bend the elbows about as far as they go, about 90. And they're going to plug into his sides here. You can see there's little slots on the sides that these tab into. So go ahead, press them in there, like so. The feet, you're just going to push them together. Make sure they go together at the actual legs and the tail here. Now, I mentioned earlier that this guy has an issue where these want to separate because this leg doesn't really want to press in all the way. You can mitigate that by kind of holding these and just kind of squeezing the thighs apart. That'll help hold it together. And the next thing I want to do, bring these down. Then you're going to bend them in, and they're going to tab onto his shoulders like so. And finally, you just bring up the combiner peg. Now, depending on which way you want his arm to face, you're going to turn this a different way. Let's go ahead and let's do this way. I think that's what the instructions have you do. So you get that. Now you take the combiner hand, make sure it's in the proper configuration. You just plug it in here. You got that. And now we gotta do something with his accessories. Now the instructions don't show you what to do with any of his accessories. Naturally, the axe is going to be part of King Poseidon's trident, so you're not going to use it. These two, however, they do get a configuration of storage in leg mode, and it works just as well for this mode, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, because I think it wasn't intended and just got left out of the instructions. I don't know why they would have just left it off, other than just running out of space or forgetting about it. So you put all three weapons together like so. And then you just go ahead and you plug it onto the top of the manta head. And it's nice and out of the way. Looks pretty good, pretty streamlined. And there you go. This is his arm mode. And makes a pretty decent arm mode. It's not as flimsy as Swoop's is. He had an issue where his ankle rocking caused the fist to kind of flop around. Luckily not the case here. And it's pretty solid, especially since the hips are tighter on this. And I like it. It's a good looking arm mode. Now going from here to leg mode does not require much at all. So go ahead, just remove the combiner fist for now. Get out of the way. Turn this, and we're going to turn his waist to where the kneecaps are facing like this. Go ahead, open these up momentarily, get them out of the way. And now, as if you're putting them back in manta mode, you're going to collapse the legs down. So, press them back together, make sure it's nice and straight. And then you just close the wings back up. Lift the peg up, like so. Now to help sell this, we need the help from Turtler. We're going to use one of his combiner feet. And then you go ahead, place the hand in the back of the foot, like you did for golf. Everything to kind of flatten out, like so. And then we just place this on here. And there you have it. This is Kraken's leg mode. And pretty decent looking. Got a lot of front kibble, but honestly, pretty much all of King Poseidon's components have a lot of front kibble on their limb modes, so nothing new. If anything, it keeps it from looking flat, because he does have a pretty flat profile in terms of the side. And functionally, it works great. Nothing getting in the way of anything. Everything works like it should. Oh, and this part holds together a lot better than, say, Cutthroat does. Cutthroat has a tendency to kind of bend around a lot at like the robot waist area. No such issue here, so thankfully he's much more sturdy. And now the final configuration. Doesn't take a whole lot of changing. So just go ahead, remove the foot, get it out of the way. You're going to bend the combiner port down at a 90 like that. Remove this with your hands and not by shaking the toy. Plug it into the bottom of his feet. Come the gun barrel. Make sure everything's kind of nice and straight there, like so. And then you're gonna do the same thing you did for golf. Take the little cap off of the combiner hand, set it down, and plug the combiner peg into the top of the hand. Reposition the fingers to where they actually hold this thing up a bit. And there it is. This is his weapon mode. And honestly, it's very sleek looking. I like it. I like it a lot more than Golf's. Looks like some sort of futuristic weapon or something. Like the little wings on and stuff. You know, look really good. So, what do I think of Mr. Kraken? I think he's fantastic. I think he's the best version of the swoop mold that we've ever had. Just because he loses a lot of the structural issues that Swoop and Cutthroat had. My copy does have that oddity with the leg joint there, like by the knee. Again, doesn't affect much at all, doesn't affect his stability. Just might require the extra step of, you know, really kind of pressing his legs together in arm mode. He just looks great in every mode. I think this is a really fantastic toy. They've done a stellar job with him. Love the colors, they're very sleek looking. And honestly, I just wholeheartedly recommend it. He does a lot better job with his weapon storage than, you know, what we've seen on Golf so far. And, you know, if you're going to complete King Poseidon, or if you just want a really cool toy and have the cash laying around, I mean, seriously, go for it. He is really good. I mean, so far, I've been pretty blown away, and I imagine that's going to keep happening. But so yeah, I mean, I have nothing bad to say about this guy. Everything works well for him. And honestly, his transformation, even though simple is sometimes bad, I like the fact that it's much more intuitive than Golf's was. It was a lot less kind of finagling around with parts all over the place, giant packs. I was able to do it without even looking at the instructions. I mean, it made sense, the whole transformation. So yeah, this is one very highly recommended figure. So now that I've said my piece, what do you all think? Do you think Kraken does everything he's supposed to do very well? Is there anything you would have changed or improved on him? I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments section. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to toss it a like. Let YouTube know that you enjoy this content. If you want to see more like this or any of my other videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. I thank you for joining me for this look at Kraken, aka Seawing. And with all that said, I will see you next time.